Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this month's webinar, The Power of Profiles. My name is Chris Martin, CRM Training Manager here at SimpleView. I've been working with CVBs and DMOs for about 7 years now in the software industry. So wanted to highlight a topic today that sometimes takes a little bit of a back seat in the meeting sales world, and that's the profile in the meeting sales database. So what we're going to be talking about today here on the agenda is we're first going to do an overview of what the profile record in the meeting sales database is and kind of what it's used for. Look at how to create them and what kinds of information we can store in the profile. Then once we've created our initial profile, we'll take a look at how we can add history and future records to that profile so we can see where a profile, where a lead has been before possibly the bid that we're working on for our destination. Then we'll kind of go in and look at how profiles and leads coexist, how information from the profile can be auto-populated in the lead, and some other things on how the two interact. Then from there, we're going to take a look at some reporting and really how profile data can help with forecasting and looking into the future at what things are booked in your destination, and then using profile searching to kind of fill gaps or to connect groups that we know that hold meetings with times of the year in the future that we have space available. So we're going to kind of make that connection and look at all those different uses of the profile itself. So first, what is a profile? So a profile in our meeting sales database is a place where we can store information about a recurring meeting. So it's kind of like the intermediary between the account and the lead itself. So when we have an account, say SimpleView is an account in your meeting sales database. At the account level, you have information about SimpleView, contacts, phone numbers, and things like that. If we were working on a bid for SimpleView Summit in 2018, that would be a lead. But between the account and the lead would be the profile for SimpleView Summit. Not for a specific year like 2018, like the lead that we're doing, but just general information. So, SimpleView Summit is normally Monday through Wednesday. It's normally, 600 to 700 people. That type of information is what we're going to be storing in the profile. So let's jump over to our CRM system and take a look at how we can create them. So here I am in my meeting sales database, and we can see accounts and contacts, our leads and service requests, and the profile is kind of in the middle right here. So really what we would be doing is first going to our account. So we would look up, the account we have here for our webinar, and we can look that up through the quick search and jump here into our account detail. Now once I'm in the account detail, I'm seeing my account information, and I can scroll down here to my profiles tab. And this is where we're going to see any existing profiles for this account. So a lot of times you're going to have more than one. So if this was SimpleView, we'd have one profile for SimpleView Summit, a second profile for the CRM regional trainings, and so forth. So in the end, you're going to have a few different profiles here. But to create a new profile on the Profiles tab, we click Add New Profile. So once we've clicked to add that new profile, then we have our profile form to fill out. And just like all the other forms in CRM, anything that's in red is going to be required. Now the account information is already filled in since we created this profile from the account. So then we would give this profile a name, so SimpleView Summit. The other required field is we need a contact, so we need to choose one of our contacts from our account. Then we have lots of other information that we can store about this recurring meeting. So SimpleView Summit is something that happens every year. So what kinds of details, what do we know about SimpleView Summit? Well, we have things like room and show attendees. So normally there's 500 people at SimpleView Summit. With all of the local employees at SimpleView, that's going to make a total of 650 people. Normally this brings a certain number of rooms, maybe 1,500. And please don't double check me on this math. Math was never my strong suit. Ask my high school algebra teacher. But anyway, we have our attendees, show attendees, total rooms. What's our peak? So, maybe our peak rooms is still going to be 500. We have our market segment pulling in from our account. The next field we see is preferred meeting months. To me, this field is one of the most important in the profile, because later on, when we start looking at forecasting, what we're going to be doing is looking into the future and saying, well, 2 years from now, what days do we have things booked? And if we find a gap, maybe a month, where we don't have a lot of things booked and we don't have a lot of things in the pipeline for, this preferred months is what I can then use to search. So SimpleView Summit is typically in April or May. So if I look at my compression report, my forecasting reports, and I see that I don't have a lot of stuff booked in April or May of 2 years from now, what I can do is search based on this field and say, well, show me all the accounts that have meetings in April or May, and then try and talk to them and get in touch with them and say, hey, we have space available at my destination in these months. I know you like to have this meeting then. So we can make that connection and then kind of try and fill in those gaps from there. So that's something that we're going to be talking about a little bit later in our presentation, but just want to highlight the importance of the preferred meeting months field. Scrolling over to the right, some other things. So a profile type. Typically is this an annual event, semi-annual, monthly, one time, or other options like that. We have our profile type, which is typically an indicator of what type of meeting is this. Is this a banquet or a reunion, seminar, tournament, trade show? A lot of times in the type I also see things like, is it going to be a citywide or is it a single property event? Those types of things are good options in the type drop-down. EEI type. So this is what economic impact type are we going to be using. So we can choose from all of our EIC tags or any other EEI types that we have from our leads. And this is some of this information is also going to help us when we go to create our lead. So if we choose the EEI type here, that we want to use the national domestic EEI type, then when I create a lead and attach it to this profile, some of this information, including the EEI type, is going to fill in for me. We have a source code, so we can put in how we learned about this profile. Meeting patterns. So this is where we're saying, like, what days of the week or what pattern does this meeting normally, or does this profile normally follow? So if we were doing SimpleView Summit, we would choose the second option, and that's typically Monday through Wednesday. But if there's no specific pattern or any number of days, we can choose those different options here. We have assigned users and assigned tags for our profiles, so we can do extra organization. And our profiles can connect to Mint, so we see some Mint information here. And then any additional information that we want to, any additional fields we want to add, can go here in the additional information section. So then I click Save, and now I have my profile. So we see my profile detail, the information here about the profile that I've entered, and then we have some tabs down below. To get back to our account, I can click on my account, and now on my Profiles tab, I have my multiple profiles. So that's how we can create a profile, going into our account and down here on our Profiles tab, hitting Add New Profile. There is another way to create a profile, and it's kind of a shortcut from the lead itself. So if I'm working, say, with our account here, and I'm ready to send out a lead, I don't necessarily have to build the profile first. What I can do is go right to my lead and click Add New Lead. And then at this point, as I'm filling out my lead, I would say, well, this is the SimpleView Regional Training, Spring 2017. Then if I want to create a profile, if this is the first time I've done a lead for the SimpleView Regional Trainings and I want to create a profile, I can check this box right over here. And when I check this box when I'm creating my lead, I'm going to create a profile using the lead details. So some of the things here from the lead are going to be used then to create that. The one thing about this shortcut to create the profile is by default it's going to use the meeting name as the name of the profile. So we don't want the profile to be called SimpleView Regional Training Spring 2017. We just want it to be SimpleView Regional Training. So in that case, what I do is click this green button right here next to the profile, and that's going to allow me to name the profile. And I can just call it the SimpleView Regional Training and choose my contact. So now by doing that, whenever I click Save to create my lead, another profile is automatically going to be created. So I just need to go through and pick some of my required fields here and put in some info. And then once I'm through with that and I click Save, we'll be able to see that that lead was created and it was attached to the profile SimpleView Regional Training. So now if I go back to my account, we'll see those 3 profiles here. Now whenever you do use that shortcut and create your profile directly from the lead, it's very important that you go back into that profile and edit and add some additional information. So some of the things like EEI type, some of the numbers are going to pull in for us. I went to the wrong profile here, so let me pull up the other one. The regional training profile. When we go to edit this, some of that information is going to appear here, but certain information we need to still remember to go back to the profile and fill out. Specifically, things that we said were really important, like our preferred meeting months, maybe our profile type to see about annual, semi-annual, and so forth, and others. So whenever you use the shortcut to create the profile directly from the lead, just make sure you go back and fill out some of those details so that if we're doing searching based on profiles, we have good data to base that off of. The last way that we can create profiles in the CRM system is we can actually import them from the Mint system, from DMAI's Mint system. So if we're at our account level, so we've got our account, and we can see that it is connected to Mint. If I scroll down to the Profiles tab, we see a button here to import profiles from Mint. So once I've added a new account to the system and made that connection to Mint, I can actually use the Mint database as a nice research tool. So if I just added my new account for SimpleView, connected it to Mint, and now I want to see what kinds of meetings SimpleView holds, I could import that stuff from the Mint database. So I just click on Import Profiles from Mint, and then we're going to see here this annual convention is what is existing in the Mint system that I can then pull down into my CRM system. Now I have a couple options with this. First, I can add it as a new profile. So if this annual convention is not already in my system, then I can add this as a new profile. But maybe I already have a profile for the annual convention, and what I want to do is just connect it to Mint. Well, in that case, what I do is I check here to link the profile and choose the existing profile from my CRM system to connect to the annual convention in the Mint system. In this case, I'm going to add this as a new profile. So I check to add as a new profile, hit Add Link Mint Profiles. Then it's also here giving me an indication that I have some additional contacts from Mint that I can import, so I'll go ahead and do that as well. And then as the system adds that profile, now I can see my annual convention here in my CRM system. So I have that data. I can click to edit and then add to it. So again, looking at some of the info that's coming from Mint, we have some great stuff. In this case, the preferred months actually pulled in from Mint, so I don't have to add anything to that. I'm going to want to add a contact. Assign one of my sales managers to this, and so forth. But we can grab those profiles from Mint and kind of shortcut adding all of that stuff here into our CRM system. So that kind of brings us through an overview of the profile. We looked at what the profile is, a couple of different ways how we can create profiles, both from the account and the shortcut creating from the leads, and also importing those profiles from Mint. So now that we've created our profiles and put in the basics, next we want to take a look at history and future records as part of the profile. So history and future records is a tab that we're going to see that's part of the profile once it's created. And history and future is a great place where you can see information about where a recurring meeting has been in the past and where it may be booked in the future. So if we're thinking about SimpleView Summit, we know that last year it was in Tucson, Arizona. This coming year, 2017, also going to be in Tucson, Arizona. So then from there, if we were taking this as an example, if we had that information in our History and Future tab, when I look at it, I can say, okay, well, looking into the future, it's booked in 2017 in Tucson, then I know that my next opportunity to bring this event to my destination is going to be in 2018. So that's great information for us to have in the profile and in the CRM system for our sales managers to be reviewing. That information can also be imported from Mint. So if future bookings have been uploaded into the Mint system, we can download that information into our CRM system to give us the most accurate future booking information and history information about any recurring event. And once we have that information, there's some really good uses for this. First of all, prospecting. So whenever we're looking, when we're looking for new accounts that we're working with, when we get new prospects in, we can download that information from Mint, or we can get that information from our clients and know and plan as to when the next opportunity we're going to have to bring their event to our destination. Also for searching, once we have this bank of information in the history and futures, we can use this information as well as the preferred meeting months to search for opportunities in the future. If we look at our forecasting, and again, we're missing events a couple of years from now, we can then look and see which of those groups that might meet that might be able to fill that gap. We can see if they're already booked somewhere else. So lots of great information in the history and future section. So flipping back over to our CRM system, first we want to take a look at how we can manually create history and future information, how we can then import it from the Mint system as well. So first I have my account detail here, so I'll scroll down to my profiles, and first I'm going to choose the SimpleView Regional Training. So if I click on the profile, instead of editing it, I click right on my profile detail, and then the History Future tab is down here. We see history and futures. This, once we have some, will display all of the history and future information in here, but right now I'm going to click Add New History. So then I have a simple form to fill out about a historical event in this recurring meeting, so in this profile. So maybe last year this event was in Tucson, Arizona, and the facility we were at the JW Marriott Star Pass. Notice one thing about this history form. Everything is optional. There's no required fields. The idea with this history is the more information the better. But if I know as little as a year and a month, that's great. I can know that this happened last year, this month, in this city. It's super wide open, so whatever information you can get from your clients, we can add into here as a history record. So we're saying this was last year in Tucson at the JW Marriott. We had it in April of 2016. If that's the only information I have, I go ahead and click Save. If I have rate, attendance, a firm start and end date, I can add that. If I have room blocks, I can add that, contract and pickup. I have additional information, so I can go into the admin section and add any fields that I want. So any additional fields that we want to track about histories and futures, we can add those as well. Then I click Save, and that creates that history and future detail. Go back to my profile, go down to history and future, and I can add another history. So also in Tucson, maybe this time it was at the Hilton El Conquistador, which is another hotel in the Tucson area. And maybe that was in May of 2015. Maybe I do have attendance figures for that, so that was 575 people. Save. That adds another history future detail, and I can go back to the profile and continue that process. They don't all have to be in the past. We can add our future bookings. So I'm going to add another one, again, here in Tucson at the JW Marriott. This is going to be in April of 2017, so mark your calendars. This is going to be SimpleView Summit this year. We don't have attendance figures and things yet because it hasn't happened yet. But that's kind of the idea that we can work with this history and future. So now, whenever I'm looking at this, if we're looking at our profile for the regional training or SimpleView Summit or whatever profile it is, I can scroll right down here and see in the past where this has been, some previous attendance, and then also where it is in the future. So if I'm looking at this profile, I see they're booked in 2017, so my next opportunity for this profile is in 2018. So that's some great information that we can use here in the History and Futures section. And creating them manually is one way we can do this. We can also create them by importing from Mint. So if I go back to my account, and I'm here in my account detail, I can scroll down and then find that profile that I imported from the Mint system, the annual convention here. So when I click on that and get into my profile, as I scroll down, now on my History and Futures tab is a button to import History and Future from Mint. I click that. Just like when we initially imported the profiles, I can import history and future information all the same. So here's one historical record and some other future bookings found as well. So in this case, it looks like they're actually all historical, but what I do is just click Add Mint History, and then the system is going to add all of those items into here. Disregard kind of some of this data. This is our test record in Mint as well, so some of this data is not completely accurate, but we can import that history and future information, and so nice and easy we have all of this background about that, which is one of the great uses of the Mint system itself. You know, you make a new contact, so you meet Meg and George from SimpleView at a trade show. You come back into your office and you're entering them into CRM. You can make that connection to Mint. You can download all of the profiles from SimpleView and see what kind of meetings they hold. Then for each of those meetings, we can go in and download the history and the future. So you can, you know, kind of research and look at all of those different meetings that a group's holding, see when they're booked in the future, see when our next opportunity is going to be, and then follow up with our new contact accordingly. So it just gives us lots of great information about our accounts, about our new prospects, that we can then use to develop a strategy, you know, for marketing our destination to that account. So those are some of the things to be, you know, thinking about this history and future information. So we talked about uses in prospecting, developing a marketing strategy for your destination for a new prospect that you've received, and, you know, kind of gathering that information about what meetings they hold and where they've been in the past. Also want to think about searching using this history and future information. Keep that concept in mind. We'll kind of circle back on that once we get into the searching section of the webinar today. So now we've got our profile, we've got our history and future information. So how does that interact with our leads? Once we've been talking about a recurring meeting and we're ready to do a bid for that next business opportunity in the future. So how do profiles and leads interact? First, we'll talk about how the lead details, some of the lead details can actually be pre-populated from a profile. Some of this, and then also the history and future information from our profile can be showing on our lead templates and in the extranet. So we want to just take a quick kind of peek at this stuff. So now that we're back here in CRM, we're at our account level and we're ready to create a lead. So we've been working with our account on one of their profiles, and they're saying they're ready to do a bid, you know, for that next available opportunity in the future. So what I would normally do is in my account, you know, I would scroll down and go to my leads tab and click to add a new lead. But now that I have profile information, what I can do is go to the profile itself. So open up my profile here for the SimpleView regional trainings. Then in the profile detail, I can scroll right down to leads and click to add a new lead. And since I'm now doing this from the profile itself, you know, certain info from the profile is going to auto-populate into the lead. We can see here that it took the profile name and added that to the meeting name. So now I just have to type in Spring 2017 if that's the opportunity that I'm sending out to my partners. Other things like the EIC type, source, market segment, the type, some attendance figures have all populated from the profile. So using the profile is a way to kind of shortcut and autofill some information about our leads when we're creating that new lead. You can also do that by going to the account detail and clicking on the Leads tab and clicking Add New Lead, and then choosing the profile from this drop down right here. So now if I choose my regional training, some of those details are going to fill in, but it allows me to name the meeting on my own. So just a couple of different ways that we can use the profile information to create a lead, just to save us a little bit of time in filling out some of those details. Now those details that are being auto-populated can then be edited. So if this time maybe it's going to be 75 rooms instead of 50, you can make changes to this when you create the lead, but it's just a little bit of a shortcut to give you some general information at the beginning. Then once we've gotten all our lead details in and created the lead, some of the information from the profile is then going to show on our lead templates and in the extranet. So if I go back and find a lead that I've already created here. So back in our account detail, I can scroll down to the leads, and I actually already have one set up for the SimpleView Regional Training Spring 2017. So if I go into that lead and say I'm ready to send this to my partners, I can scroll down to my Communications tab, hit New Communication, use my Send to Hotels, and now when I've got my lead email all ready to go, I choose my template and my new sales lead template here, and then we can see some of the information that we can pull is, here's our history and future information. So by entering this good info or downloading it from the Mint system, now when I'm sending this opportunity out to our partners, we can give them an idea of where this has been in the past. And this is just a special function that we've created. So this core, history future function is available to you to add to your lead templates, or you could create a custom one. So if you wanted to include additional columns, like the number of attendees, or the number of rooms booked, or the peak, or any info that you're storing in that profile or in that history and future, can be added to this part of your lead templates. So that would be a great use of additional information on the history and future record. If there's some specific piece of info that you want to be conveying to your partners about opportunities from a history and future perspective, we can custom create any special function to pull info from the history and future here. This information also is available in the extranet. So if I switch over to our new extranet 4.0, here's a demo lead that we're looking at. So as I'm looking at my lead details under the Opportunities RFP section, once I've selected a lead, here we can scroll down and see history and future information is available here in the extranet as well. So you can go into your layout manager and put the history and future section wherever you want. You can kind of organize your lead sheet. So we see here history and future information with different info about our historical bookings. You can even click on it and see a little bit more detailed information, all of the information about that historical record. So lots of great ways that the history and future and other info in the profile interacts with our leads and helps us to convey that information to our partners, about the opportunities that we're sending to them. So we've kind of looked at how profiles and leads interact. So we want to move on to another kind of concept that I've been hinting at, this whole webinar, and that's the idea of forecasting, and then using our forecasting information to strategically plan, what groups we want to go after for the future. So we want to talk about the compression report. this is one of the ways that we can do forecasting and look into the future at what kinds of things we've booked. And this kind of forecasting is really what we'll be using to be thinking proactively into the future. A lot of times in the meeting sales world, we get caught with the backlog of RFPs coming in, and we don't stop and think about being proactive. And this report is one way that we can do that. By regularly running the compression report for the next year, maybe next 2 years, next 3 years, we can be looking at the future and seeing where we're booking things and try and find groups that can fit where we have space available. This is some feedback that I've heard directly from meeting planners that they're looking for. They're looking for proactive contact from CVBs about when they have availability and what size of groups they can fit into different destinations. So thinking about the compression report, this is the report that we use to look into the future and kind of identify what our availability is. So looking here in the compression report is one of our standard reports under the leads section. And once we get to the compression report, we're going to want to go and look at a date range. So in this case, I'm looking at next year, 2017. And then I click refresh, and that's going to give me information like this. So the compression report itself is going to show us all of our different status types. So it's going to show us assists. So if we've entered in assists, we'll see numbers, room night numbers for assists. Here we're looking at definites. So what we can do is look at this, and we see here's the entire year. So January through December, and then each day of every month, telling us how many rooms we have booked on each day. So what we can do is look at it, look at our assists, look at our definites, and identify a gap. So here we're seeing a gap in early September. So next year, we've got lots of things booked, but specifically we need to work on September. So we would also compare this to our assists. If we have assists entered from from our hotels, things that they booked on their own, we can compare and look at that same time frame, and also looking at our leads. So the compression report not only shows us definite, so we have 0 room nights booked, but here in the leads, it's showing us that we do have some things out there, some things in the pipeline. So by kind of comparing the book details for our definites and what's out there for our leads, we can kind of make a decision. So with what's out here already, is this good enough? Should we focus on closing these leads that are still in lead status? Or do we need to identify new groups to kind of fill this gap? And that's kind of where we get into the searching side of things. So what we want to do is take a look at some searches that we can use to identify groups that meet in September to try and contact and fill this gap. So jumping back into CRM, we're in our meeting sales group and we want to do some searching. So now I want to search for groups that like to meet in September so I can try and fill that gap in my compression report. So I've gone in and created a couple of custom searches here. The first one we see is using history future search and one using the preferred months. So thinking about all of the data that we're storing in the profile combined with some of the things that are maybe in our leads, we want to think about how we can then search. So looking at this one, our preferred month search. This is something where I've added some runtime filters here. Basically the preferred months from the profile, peak night rooms, room attendees, and total rooms. So this search allows me to not just search for the month of September, so I know we need to find things that meet in the month of September, but I can also add additional filters, for things like the size of it. So in this case, looking at my compression report, I had 0 rooms booked for that first week in September. So I need a lot. So maybe I want to look for big meetings. So I want to look for things where the preferred month is September and their peak room nights is greater than 500. And then I could search, find those groups, and see here's the one. So I want to talk to the International Society for Environmental Epidemiology. If you can say that 10 times fast, that's awesome. That's probably going to help you when you market to this group. But now what I can do is click to view the detail of that profile, I'm in my profile, I can scroll down to my history and futures. I don't have any future bookings for them, so they're available, as far as my system is showing me, for September 2017, so I can try and then fill in that gap. Another search that I've created here is one based on history and future information. So this history future search is basically searching, I added some filters for the city, number of attendees, contract rooms, pickup rooms. So we could add filters, based on this. So if I want to look at groups that have, met in my destination or in other destinations near me, that maybe meet in those specific months, we could very easily modify this. And one of the fields that's available for our history and future records as we're building our search is going to be that month. So we can add the month to this. So now we're looking at filters where we have things like what month are they meeting in? What cities have they met in the past? So if I want to look at, if I'm a destination like Tucson, I can look where the city that they met in equals, Phoenix or other nearby destinations. So what has met in other destinations in that month, and again, try and market to them about our destination. So a couple of searching options that we see there. Again, the idea is we're looking at our compression report, finding gaps, and then being creative with how we can search our CRM data to then fill in those gaps and connect, meeting planners with, our partners when we have space available. So that kind of brings us through our webinar this month. We've talked about creating our profiles and an overview of the profile. We've looked at creating our history and future and the information that we can store in both the profile and the history future record. How that affects our leads when we're sending leads and communicating these opportunities to our partners. And then looking at our compression report, looking into the future and seeing when we have space available, and then searching the profile information to then connect groups to those available times. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to your CRM analysts. They'll be able to answer any questions about the compression report, about building these searches, or details about the profile and history future records. Keep an eye out for additional posts in the forum for ongoing discussions amongst you guys, amongst the SimpleView community on how we're using profiles and doing this forecasting. So again, thank you guys for viewing this webinar video. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at SimpleView, your account managers, your CRM analysts, and we can take care of whatever you guys need. And we look forward to seeing you guys in future CRM webinars, and wish you guys the best of luck and have a good day.